Stop, Stan! You've done enough!
They're fine.
Oh, I can't believe you!
She's fine.
Whoa, and I was afraid of all my other videos doing me in. I think this one will be it. Granted, I say that for every video, so I guess we'll just continue to roll the dice. Hi, I'm Kitty Monk, and I'm here to talk to you about American Dad. Or more specifically, Stan Smith. And also I'm still sick. And hey, that rhymes. Now, a frequent topic in my American Dad videos is the idea that the show is kind of like King of the Hill on high fructose corn syrup, where it concerns a conservative, patriotic, do-all manly man. But the show is, at its core, all about challenging Stan and changing his viewpoints. I mean, throughout the show, Stan has become super liberal, especially when it comes to gay rights. But to make the show well-rounded, there are of course times when Stan is correct. But unlike Hank Hill, well, the show typically won't portray it as correct, or correct at the last minute. At least he didn't forbid Steve from working for Peter Sterling because he was jealous. So I decided that much like I did with Cartman, I want to count down the top 10 times Stan Smith was correct. Trust me, it was hard enough finding 10 entries. Like, I thought Cartman was hard. So, let's discuss. Starting with the honorable mentions. Okay, this time around, we have 2 honorable mentions, aka times where Stan was correct, but for the wrong reasons. The first is the episode White Rice.
You can't just leave.
Stan, you don't control me anymore. I'm gonna live my life and you can't stop me.
Wow, this episode is actually kind of relatable. I mean, this and Productive Panic, I never thought I would relate to Francine. Maybe it's because I used to be a blonde. As it turns out, every year, Stan takes Francine to a hypnotist to brainwash her into agreeing with him.
Okay, good to go.
Thanks, Sal.
Francine, you are stiff as a board.
But after he refuses to bring the therapist a sandwich one time too many, said therapist undoes it all. Unfortunately, despite the fact that being brainwashed into becoming a pretty little housewife would make for a great episode, I think that's why we had Father Days, we instead focus on one thing she was made to forget: her stand-up comedy career, with her whole gimmick taking inspiration from being adopted by a Chinese couple.
My parents said, of course she has lice. She has it for lunch every day. I can say it. You can't.
You're good.
Stan doesn't like this change despite Francine's obvious talent, or the fact that Francine's stand-up got picked up for a show by Fox, as it means Francine can't keep taking care of him, nor can he control her. But within possibly days, if not hours, of Francine leaving, Stan's entire house is filthy.
You started working nights. It affected my schedule. I talked to Sal about it, and he said I don't like change. I have an aversion to it. An aversion! Can you imagine how hard that's been on me?
Weird that this episode and Heartbreak Hotel, which had similar concepts, aired around the same time, and they each said that Stan could not take care of himself. But here's where Stan is correct, I hate to say. Like, I really hate to say it. But in a way, he's right for the wrong reasons. Hence it being an honorable mention. Because Stan is kinda correct that Francine can't make it on her own. But it's not because he isn't there, or that Francine is unfunny. It's because Francine's show was seen as racist by the Asian community and canceled after one joke. Not even an episode, a joke.
What's for dinner?
Eel in cow eyeball sauce. It called guk noo.
Sounds more like guck ooh.
And on top of that, the main reason Stan is often prompted to hypnotize Francine is because of a yearly argument about whether or not to move her parents to town, which is almost always prompted on Baba's birthday.
You want to discuss your parents moving to town, but Stan won't talk about it.
How did you know?
Because you come over every year, say the same thing.
I don't do that.
Of course, Stan doesn't like that idea. I mean, he doesn't like Francine's parents enough as it is, but the final scene touches on Francine's feelings on the matter.
I really think we should talk about moving them to town.
Okay, let's talk about it.
I think it's a terrible idea.
Me too.
Okay, this was a funny joke, but the reason I made it honorable is that I don't know what to make about it. Was Francine saying, Stan, you're right, this is a terrible idea? because of what happened in the episode, like maybe writing her show made her reminisce about her family and realize, crap, I don't want to live with them? Or was she going to say all along that she didn't want them to move, all because maybe she thought Stan wanted it or something, or like, Stan, if my parents ask to move here, please, if I say anything, tell them no. The second is old Stan in the mountain, if only because, while I do agree that Stan needed to learn a lesson about the fact that elderly people are still people, well, I feel like he made a good point about how old people, or at least one of the old people in his life, were causing trouble.
Who are you to say I'm too old?
Ray, you microwaved a sponge yesterday thinking it was a Hot Pocket. You had a lot of opportunities to see it wasn't food.
But it's a small moment, so there's that.
I can't believe Terry. That is my house and my partner and my baby. And here I am living out of an overnight bag in the teardown across the street.
Okay, hear me out. There's a reason this is the lowest ranked. I have to explain it good, otherwise I'll get accusations. Previously, I made a point that I loved Greg and Terry as a couple, but in hindsight, episodes like this and a boy named Michael make me feel like, yeah, maybe Terry breaking up with Greg to go follow the band 311, it doesn't seem as big as a hand wave as it once was. Terry's father, Tank, is a famous football player who's coming to Langley Falls to retire his jersey. Unfortunately, Tank doesn't know that Terry is gay, and Terry doesn't want to tell him, despite Greg saying that he should.
Terry, Greg is right. You don't want Libby to grow up thinking being gay is something to be ashamed of, do you?
You're right. It's time I tell my father the truth.
Now, to be fair, it's still Terry's decision, and if he doesn't want to come out to his father, that's okay, especially since he knows how his father is going to react, and I hate to say it, not every queer person wants to come out for whatever reason, even if they don't feel scared for their lives. But Francine and Stan are there to support him. Unfortunately, he chickens out at the last moment and says that Francine is his wife while Greg and Terry are a couple.
This is my girlfriend Francine, and we had this baby out of wedlock, and I didn't tell you because I knew you wouldn't approve.
And who are they?
Oh, that's Stan and Greg from across the street.
Again, it's fine, he doesn't want to come out, but now he's sucking other people into his lie. Like, it's bad enough it's just Greg, when he could have just said that he and Greg are roommates or something. Meaning that Greg has to go stay with Stan until Tank leaves, while Francine has to pretend to be his wife. And this would be fine and good, but none of them are cool with it. He didn't even ask them beforehand.
You know, I was just wondering what the hell this is.
Oh, it's Terry's.
Mwah.
Even Greg just wants him to tell Tank so he can go back to his husband, while Francine keeps trying to force the pair to just talk, and she's basically about to tell them herself.
I'm just calling to tell you this'll all be over soon. I locked Terry and Tank in the den. They're not going anywhere until Terry tells them the truth.
Eventually, Stan gets drunk, long story, and outs Terry to Tank, like this.
She's Terry's girlfriend.
No, she's not. She's my wife. Greg is Terry's boyfriend.
What?
Terry and Greg are in love.
Now, obviously, I don't condone outing people. It's their business. But Terry did all of this without asking permission. If he said beforehand, Francine, could you just pretend to be my wife, and Stan outed him because he didn't think he should do that, then yeah, I could get Terry being angry. But the way it seemed, it's like they just got mad at Stan because they needed somebody to blame.
You outed Terry to his father, then passed out, woke up, puked, and stumbled into the bushes.
And not to mention, Stan wasn't doing it to be hateful. He just got fed up. Plus, at the end, even Francine points out,
Your Stan took something extremely private and made it into a public spectacle. But he was just trying to help. Comes from a good place.
overall, I guess it's a weird position to take, but I don't know how to describe it. It just is.
It's okay. It's over, Francine. She's dead. She's finally dead. She's dead now.
Yes, I know I made a review on this episode, and I don't care. I really don't like this episode. Honestly, it's probably my least favorite now, next to Rubberneckers. Haley is Stan's daughter, and she's married to Jeff. And as they can't afford to move out, they still live with the Smiths in Haley's childhood bedroom. The problem, well, they can be freeloaders, and less money, more problems is the biggest indicator of that. Jeff and Haley aren't the best house guests. They contribute little if anything. Jeff keeps Stan up at night so he can hang out, and not even in the sense of, oh, he doesn't know any better, because Haley keeps making excuses for him.
You know what time it is? Shh.
Dad, Jeff worked a long day, and now all he wants to do is watch Bones and relax.
Jeff previously said he hated Stan and only pretended to like him for Haley's sake, so I have no choice but to think that Jeff is doing all of this crap on purpose and just playing stupid to avoid consequence.
Get the syrup.
Oh, sure thing, Mr. S. Let me just...
Eventually, Stan explodes when this happens.
That's it! I can't live like this anymore!
Stan!
He took all the syrup! I asked for the syrup, and he took all the syrup! I work hard!
Yeah, he makes a good point. Actually, he really does. I mean, I don't like syrup, like imagine. Haley says that they want to move out too, but Jeff makes minimum wage, so they can't afford to go anywhere. Stan, in his boomer mindset, thinks that minimum wage is plenty. So to prove a point, he insists that he and Francine will live on minimum wage for a month. And if they're able to do it, Jeff and Haley will be able to do it. So they'll have no more excuse and have to move out.
Enjoy your month of poverty.
And enjoy your last month of sucking money from my veins like a leech that attached itself to my leg in the.
But because this is a political episode, it's one of those times when Stan has to be out of character for the sake of a message.
So between the car and the money we wasted on that apartment, we have less than $200 left. What are we supposed to eat?
Potatoes and rice.
Which honestly makes no sense. So he barely makes it a week.
Dad, it's been less than 2 days.
So, I guess this means we can stay.
You can stay here as long as you need.
Now, yes, the episode does make good points about minimum wage not making enough to live on, but they don't really offer any alternatives beyond Jeff and Haley have to live with Stan because they have to because they're family. Even if they take advantage of his kindness. As somebody who does still live with their parents and does contribute, yeah, that annoys the heck out of me. And what's worse is because it's a political episode, there's not even a hint of irony to it, like, oh yeah, we don't really mean what we're saying, we just mean it for these people. Stan kinda has a point, they should be a tad more considerate, or at least don't use the bathroom when he's taking a shower.
Morning, Mr. S. You mind keeping that running? I'ma need a rinse off.
The rule is number 1. Like really, who does that? The water's gonna be all hot.
Oh, come on!
You can't have Roger dress you up just to avoid me. Sooner or later, you're gonna have to find a way to get those oranges up the stairs.
Okay, hear me out. This is coming from a kid who used to get bullied. Bully for Steve focuses on the idea that Steve weak sauce wimpy. Because I'm not sugarcoating anything, he really is. Stan starts observing Steve and discovers he's weak. He has no fight in him, he needs his hand held to cross the street, and he cries like a little baby.
Why are you pulling out your cell phone? Who are you calling?
Daddy! Pick me up, I'm sick!
Sick of your nonsense? Nah, I joke. This was all a joke, I'm sorry. To toughen Steve up, Stan starts to pantomime bullying him, and won't stop until Steve defends himself.
Oh no, what happened?
I got beat up.
Sounds like you got a bully.
Yeah, it's you!
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
To be fair, Steve does try other avenues of methods, like talking to the bully.
Must have been rough.
It was, Steve. It really was. Delish. Want a sip?
Oh, yes, please. I would love some. Ah!
You can't reason with a bully!
Which I feel Stan unfortunately has a point about. Every bully is different, and while some people bully because they don't know any better, or they're insecure, or they're jealous, or they have problems at home, or whatever, many just do it because they know they'll get away with it for whatever reason, and they don't freaking care. Also, just putting it out there, I hate the quote-unquote excuse that people bully you because they like you. Well, obviously, you don't like me enough to just come out and say it.
Steve should stand up to his bully.
Violence is never the answer. Steve, have you tried reasoning with this boy? Maybe he just needs a friend.
Obviously, I don't approve of Stan's methods. Like, really, how is Steve supposed to defend himself against Stan, a CIA agent who's like 50 times his size? But I do think Stan has a point that Steve should try something to defend himself. Kids should learn to defend themselves. And while I don't mind if kids, especially boys, are sensitive, us girls actually love sensitive boys, well, he's getting bullied already. And Steve was getting into trouble because of it. Besides, Francine tried to teach Steve to fight and she just gave up.
You're just terrible! You can't even make a
fist!
I'm not good for you right now, Steve. You are so frustrating.
So in her method of, oh, you're just fine the way you are, is it really any better? I think what Stan should have done was argument stake, not toughen Steve up, but rather teach him how to fight, but not out on the street like he's doing here. Take him to a self-defense class, take him to karate, or get him started on a punching bag or a dummy, then work your way up to an actual person. Besides, even if you say like, oh, telling a teacher, well, wouldn't the bully just get upset they're getting in trouble and take it out on you? Plus, you also have to look at the reason why Stan is doing this. Honestly, I don't mean to make it this constant theme in my American Dad videos, but Stan really had a horrible childhood. He was bullied by a kid named Stelio Cantos. Stan only got a reprieve because Stelio moved away, which for most bullying victims is pure luck.
They don't just go away. You're forced to deal with them.
How did you deal with Stelio?
Good story. He moved away. But your bully's not going anywhere.
There's a big chance Steve could encounter a bully, and unfortunately, they're with him until graduation, if not beyond. No joke, I actually went to college with some of the kids I went to elementary school with, or even preschool. I never actually talked to them because I was the weirdo and I burned a lot of bridges. Heck, Stan himself was sort of proven right in the end because Steve defended himself via hiring his old bully and explaining the situation. And because of it, Stelio was all too happy to help.
I found him on Facebook and it got me thinking. Why do you care how I get those oranges up the stairs? I can pay someone to bring them up for me. Just like I'm paying Stelio.
Now, I know you're probably thinking, like, oh, Stan's a CIA agent. Why isn't he defending himself? Is it because he's a bully and bullies are all cowards, like in Drawn Together? Well, I think it's because bullying leaves scars. Yes, Stan is a CIA agent, and depending on the episode, he's pretty good in combat, but at the same time, Stan is also a victim who never got the chance to confront his bully. He never got closure like Steve is right here, so he ends up regressing back to that scared little kid.
They're up the stairs! For the love of God, you got the oranges up the stairs! You overcame your bully in your own way. It's not my way, but I respect it.
Trust me, it happened to me the other day. Like, oh, sweetie, didn't you get bullied? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, why'd you bring it up? What's for dinner? I was over it. Reminiscing.
Bert's throat gets so dry these days. You're clearly a mother. You have kind eyes.
Aww.
Yes.
You gotta admit, even if he's a horrible SOB, at least he has a cute name. Roger has a buttload of personas, and they commit a buttload of crimes, but next to Ricky Spanish. I think the worst in terms of stuff he's done is Martin Sugar, or Kevin Ramage, but mostly Martin Sugar because we're talking about him. And also not because of what he did, but because he actually got under the radar of the US government and sent to trial. One of Stan's joys is jury duty, which to most people is an annoying chore that guarantees our freedoms. And we can't just lie and say we're racist or we think it's unfair about how we're chosen because then we get held in contempt of court. Or like, why can't we ask questions? We're the ones deciding your fate. Shouldn't we be the ones asking the lawyer and the criminals, not just the lawyers?
Oh, hi, Stan. Has it been a year already?
To the day. Did you get the self-addressed stamped envelope I sent for my jury summons?
Mm-hmm.
Roger, of course, doesn't like it, even if it gives you power over the fate of another human being.
I happen to know at least 20 of your personas have social security numbers. You must get called in for jury duty.
Want to see what I do with the letters they send me? The jury letters are just the top layer.
Ugh, I should have done jury duty that one time, but no, the court told me I didn't have to that day. Stan gets called, and the dude he's assigned to is Roger's newest persona, Martin Sugar.
Hi! It's me, Roger. Stan, just look over here, just for a sec. Stan.
Of course, Stan should do the patriotic thing and just say that he knows Martin Sugar, and therefore he can't be unbiased and he needs to step down. But in a way, even if I don't approve of it, I get why he doesn't. He wants to teach Roger a lesson, that his crimes will catch up with him. And honestly, I'm not spoiling anything, Martin Sugar is 100% guilty of the crimes he's been accused of. His deal is that he had undocumented employees essentially enslaved to produce counterfeit handbags. Like, as Stan says,
he makes pregnant women on the assembly line give birth and then get right back to work.
That's why he built the Martin Sugar Daycare Center.
It's an overturned refrigerator filled with kitty litter.
Okay, this seems like it shouldn't be at the courthouse, like I suppose a county level. It should be at the federal level. Like, that's not the use of kitty litter. Not to mention how unrepentant Roger is about all this. He doesn't care about what he did. He doesn't care he almost ruined Inez's life. Like, later he even takes back the bear he gave her. And the basis of his entire trial is that he should go free because he's such a nice guy, He's faithful. He don't lie after the club. He'll go back home right. Psych. That sucked. Like when he tells the court that he's such a nice guy because he gave his slave a bear for her birthday.
Would I have given you such a wonderful birthday present?
No.
In English, please.
No.
Martin Sugar rests, y'all.
Which again he later takes back.
Why aren't you destroying my birthday bear?
I need to get out of the country.
There was money in the bear. Dios mío, money in the bear.
Or how he compliments the prosecutor despite the fact that has nothing to do with the trial. Well, Roger seems to be a major believer in the Chewbacca defense. The entire jury is going to declare him not guilty, which isn't how it works, but okay. But Stan makes a good point. He did it.
I think about all the people he ripped off, but then I think about how funny and handsome he is.
Let's let him go. No, if he committed these crimes, then he has to pay the price.
So he basically forces them to stay all night until they get a guilty verdict, even though I feel like if they go on long enough, they could just say they're deadlocked and have a mistrial. But it's funny how the next day, everybody, including the lawyers and the judge, act like they just witnessed a school bus full of orphan puppies drown.
Martin Sugar, you have been found guilty on all counts.
He wasn't gonna let us go home.
I'll visit you in prison.
Wait, is that the chick from Two Broke Girls? She was the only good human in 4. Jane has the personality of a loaf of bread. Which, look, I love Roger, but you can't deny he did all of that crap. And prison isn't a big deal to him. In the Great Space Roaster, he easily broke out of what was supposed to be the world's most inescapable prison. And I always use Max Jets as an example. This episode, he escapes too. It's as easy as tying his shoelaces. And then he just changes persona so he doesn't get caught.
Sang me, give me hot pink on my fingers and pink mist on my toes.
And the cops never wise up. But when Francine finds out, she's devastated.
Wait, Roger was the guy on trial? How could you convict him?
Because he's guilty. Now he's gonna get away.
Franny, I'm not repeating myself. What's ironic is, by trying to track down Roger, Stan ends up committing a bunch of crimes himself. And he's the one who gets arrested, not Roger. And since he wouldn't free Roger when he had the chance, well...
You're voting guilty, right?
You can't know he's guilty yet.
You're guilty of having incredibly kissable lips.
I'll vote guilty if you want me to.
Of course you will.
Oof.
Female, but what if I get trapped in some monotonous life?
Remember what Dr. Ronson said? Sometimes your feelings come out more clearly in freestyle rap.
Weirdly, it was hard to find an episode in the TBS era. I think it's because the show finally found a good balance between Stan being an idiot and a good character, as we branched out to the rest of the family sharing his idiocy. Whereas the Fox era was built on Stan being a straw man and learning a lesson each episode, even if the episode wasn't specifically about politics. And since Don't You Be My Neighbor, he was in a group so it wasn't just him, and Footprints I already talked about, and I don't like to repeat myself, I figured, well, The Long March is a good episode where Stan is kind of right, even if he does haunt my every fiber. In the TBS era, Haley works at SubHub, which is basically Subway, and recently, she has been promoted to assistant manager. She will sell sandwiches and sandwich accessories. Stan is thrilled with this, not because Haley will get benefits or argument's sake have to work extra hours and realize work sucks, but because it means in a way Haley gets to commit to the nuclear conservative idea of the Long March, which as Stan so eloquently puts it, means working every day until you go to the grave.
Soon you'll be marching to work, clocking in and out, marching home, over and over and over. You'll be 30, 40, 50, 60.
Damn it, Stan, stop giving me existential dread about my future. The Stratera already stopped my intrusive thoughts, I don't need more. Haley is excited, but Stan's words start to weigh on her.
Go to work, go home, 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 go to work.
joke, I really had a panic attack watching this episode for the first time, because it made me think like, holy crap. However, Stan sort of enjoys the long march. For me, I don't think it's because he's a man or he realizes the philosophical implications, but because he genuinely enjoys his life and his job. And I think the point he was trying to make was, while you might think your job is a waste, well, you could find contentment in your circumstances. Like you might hate the workload, but you might love the coworkers. Or you might hate the customers, but hey, you get free food at the end of your shift. Or you might hate the coworkers, but you get free tuition.
Just a promotion.
There's that vacant stare of a fellow marcher. Oh man, the march!
Plus, we all kind of realize it, and for me, when I realized you basically start working every day and that's your new life, that was a lot to take in. Haley doesn't understand Stan's words and goes to work feeling anxious, so not wanting to go on the long march, which is what I call when you go on the plane, because planes should board back to front, she and Jeff run away. But they still need a way to make money, so they become influencers on social media with sponsorships to afford their trip.
People show themselves living in a van, going to cool places. They get tons of followers, and then companies sponsor them and pay for their sunset-filled lives.
Sign us up!
What's happening?
The problem, well, I kind of like the point the episode makes. While influencers might seem glamorous, well, you do know they still have to work, right? And because you're often the only one doing it, you tend to work twice as hard. And the whole idea that if you do what you love means you don't have to work a day in your life, yeah, that's a load of bullcrap.
Then I want to go home and do nothing! The whole point of this was to get away from being a worker, Joan, and here you are, working like crazy.
This isn't work.
You're lying to yourself.
Like, just saying, I love being a YouTuber, but you work every day in some way, shape, or form. Like, sometimes I go without sleep just to turn out a video. I mean, I'm working while I'm sick, whereas any other job, I would just call out. Trust me, it's still work, and because you don't have set hours, you can basically be working all day. Because I have to go to SAC Anime at the end of the month, and I want to do, like, basically no work on my trip, I basically have to work extra now. And that means no overtime. And Jeff kind of realizes that, especially after they get monetized, so he quits.
Jeff, get up! We gotta go to work.
I thought we didn't work.
We don't. Now get up! We're gonna be late!
Wait, but does he even have a real job? Is he even still working at the Cuckoo Ranch? However, Haley keeps trying to make this lifestyle work, but unfortunately, it isn't. And because people are tiring of her as an influencer, she's sent to a farm to make jams and jellies. Nah, she really gets sent to Brazil.
I'm gonna get some great shots. I know him. He's a van lifer. And so is he. What the hell is going on here?
Granted, she does escape, and she ends up working at SubHub, even if she's still on the long march, but she learns to appreciate her job.
Go to work, go home. Go to work, go home.
Heck, she still works at that job to this day. I guess the reason I included this was, in a way, Stan was right, and it's kind of weird to say that. You will love your job, even if it becomes the same repetitive crap every day for 40-odd-some years. Besides, Haley's still in college, she probably won't be working at SubHub forever. She could always change jobs. I mean, she kinda did it in A Little Extra Scratch. Plus, the future isn't set in stone. Literally, anything can happen.
We should have just paid the guy to put this together.
Haley! I can't believe you put us in the goo!
We planned to go to Italy, so I sent you to Italy.
You're missing the point!
Yes, we all need time away from people. Me especially, or I will explode into tiny little pieces. Plus, when you think about it, it is cost-effective. The Smiths are all distant as of lately, and Francine thinks that in order to bond, they should all go on vacation together. Stan agrees, and it seems like the vacation has done the trick. Only, as it turns out, they haven't really gone on vacation, and they never have. As Roger explains,
Yeah. Well, every year Stan checks out these artificial memory chambers from the CIA, plops you suckers in, and then programs a great vacay. This year's Maui, sweet.
In the meantime, Stan and Klaus, and presumably Roger if he isn't busy, eat KFC and watch sports.
So, that time in Mexico when you and I went hang gliding and you told me you love me?
Neither of those things ever happened.
The family is furious when they find out, but as Stan says,
Well, I wanted you all to have good memories, but my idea of a vacation is a vacation away from you people.
It sucks how true that is, just saying. Like, true, vacations can bond people, but unfortunately, even in a family, everybody has different versions of vacation. I, for one, love vacations where you need to plan or do homework, where you get to explore. I think that's that's a big reason why I like going to cons and theme parks, since you can't really stop and you need to strategize. Plus, with especially big groups, you can't do everything everybody wants to do. Have you ever heard the expression, too many cooks spoil the soup? Francine insists they go on a real vacation, but whenever it seems like they're truly going, it turns out one of the Smiths trapped the rest of them in the goo, and they all seem to come around to Stan's viewpoint.
I like the Berenstain Bears. I just wouldn't want one of them marrying my daughter.
How could you put us in the goo?
Dad had the right idea. I need time away from you people, too.
Yeah, I could use time away from my family. Maybe I could throw a Playboy bunny party like Stewie. But I can't because my aunt washed my Pie Gag Fizzarelli costume, so now it looks all gross and ooky. Eventually, Francine breaks down and the family decides to make it up to her by going on a real vacation. On a cruise, which they all hate but Francine loves.
I am at my limit! Here's the line, and here's face painting, okay? Yeah, try and paint my face. Come at me with a brush, see what happens.
I miss the goo.
Still, they pretend to like it for her sake, which naturally gets to her because it seems way too perfect.
This has goo written all over it!
Honey, no! You saw them take those machines away. I promise this is real.
Oh yeah? Well, if it's real, then I probably shouldn't do this.
Until she decides they put her in the goo by herself and this happens.
I'm in the goo!
You're not in the goo! And you have the room key!
And I know I used this joke before, but I love it so much. Imagine you're just like chilling on that cruise, like, I'm chilling on my vacation, I'm playing shuffleboard.
I'm in the goo!
Wow, I thought I was on a cruise, not in Las Vegas. Eventually, Francine comes along to Stan's way of thinking after a journey that includes drifting at sea, running for their lives, and cannibalism.
Well, nothing bonds a family like a dark, horrible secret.
And the Smiths all decide that the goo works, but they'll all go in there from now on as a family. Yeah, I kinda like it. I mean, like a trip to Disney's like 10 grand. You can go in the goo and spend nothing. When I made this list, I was torn between including this episode or Franny 911. Two episodes I talked about before where Stan is correct. But the reason I chose this is because, well, I personally like this episode a bit more. In Franny 911, the message boils down to Roger has to be a jerk because he says so. Whereas here, Stan does have a real point, especially since everybody begins to seem the same way, and Francine at the end. And when you get down to it, it's programmed to be awesome. There's like no downside. You don't have to worry about anything. And even the whole like, the goo's gonna run out your womb thing. Well, Haley almost had a kid, and Francine got pregnant with Libby, so who knows. Plus, in a later season, they do end up going on a real vacation in spite of the goo, and it sucks so much they end up on a lighthouse eating pumpkin pie filling and gold-topped nuts. Ew, that sounds weird without context.
Not bad.
Yes, I know I made a video on this too. Believe it or not, this actually prompted the video. I just needed a quick topic, hence the what if Roger revealed himself angle. Roger is an alien, and because of that, the Smiths are basically committing high treason by not turning him in and treating him like family.
Do you know what the CIA would do to me if they found out I was harboring an alien?
Oh my god, give him a daytime Emmy. So dramatic.
And Roger doesn't make it any easier on them, especially in Office Spaceman. Roger has started submitting photos of himself to the newspaper under his persona of Parker Peters.
These are incredible! The newspaper could really use these. What do I owe you?
You got any of those Sacagawea dollars? When I walk past the homeless, I want my pants to jingle like a big shot.
Which Stan doesn't approve of, and for good reason. He's basically telling the CIA he's still alive and kicking, and you know where you can find him.
Sir, it's obviously a hoax.
It's not a hoax. It's bloody embarrassing is what it is. Not quite soiling yourself at P.F. Chang's embarrassing, but still.
Like, I said it in my previous review that while I feel like any other alien, they would probably just write it off as a hoax, well, Bullock is familiar with Roger. Like in Roger Codger, he was that alien who drank in the White House or ended up in the Smithsonian. Or that alien who escaped from Area 51. Or that alien who crashed in Roswell. So it would be hard to claim it's Photoshop or a guy in a suit, like a tax collector. Not to mention that this prompts Bullock to revive the alien task force, which would of course make it harder for Roger to stay hidden. Despite Stan's warning that Roger needs to keep his guard up or at least stay in the attic, he continues to take pictures. Eventually, Roger's found by the CIA, surprise surprise, but it's not in his alien form, it's his persona.
We got him!
Oh my God!
This is the photographer who's been taking all the alien pictures, Mr. Parker Peters.
They believe that Parker Peters can lead them to the alien, and Roger consents. His plan is to say he didn't come up with anything, but Bullock gives him basically a blank check to find the alien. So rather than just say he came up empty, Roger tries to milk it for all it's worth, while also making an impressive art collection that would make Ann Geddes blush.
Hold on. Just spotted the alien in a cabana. Or is it cabana?
But Bullock notices and demands actual proof. So Roger gives him some of his goo from the earlier seasons, which I don't think has really come up since.
Agent Peters, I'm sure you're mistaken. No alien would be stupid enough to leave behind hard evidence of its existence, right?
No, this alien is.
Roger, you frickin' idiot. You just gave them proof of alien life. You can't just use mayo and some ketchup to make that weirdo paste that makes me gag. Like, oh my god, that was the downside of living in a Portuguese neighborhood.
Hey, there's gunk that looks just like that all over the bathroom stall.
We need to get a sample from that bathroom, stat. We'll lock this place down and test everyone.
Stan tries to clean it up, but Roger unwittingly alerts the CIA to his location and says that Stan is harboring the alien. And the alien
has the ability to go into any human body. 1 minute he's in front of you, the next, poof, he pops into the nearest human and he's lost.
You want to get chopped up and turned into calamari, don't you, Roger? Roger decides he'll tell the CIA that the alien jumped out of Stan, but he doesn't have the time. Stan will die.
No need, Peters. We're performing the autopsy now. Agent Smith will die a horrible, painful death, but it's worth it.
You're gonna die.
What?
Well, at least it's better than admitting that he's wrong. So Stan tells him there is a way out, but he has to trust him, and it involves getting naked and walking out the front door, where the CIA can see him.
I'm an alien, Stan, for reals! They'll kill me!
Roger, I promise you'll get away. Listen to me for once and do it.
I'll do it, Stan.
Again, I just love this quote for some reason. Stan turns Roger in, and Roger feels betrayed, even if he technically betrayed Stan.
He's been harboring me! I've been living in his...
Large intestine. It was terrible. I thought kidney stones were bad.
I'm not ready to die! Not before Shatner!
Stan is about to dissect him, but as he puts the gas mask on...
He reversed the gas. I told you to listen to me. He did. He totally did.
Oh, so Roger finally realizes that for once you trust Stan. I mean, no offense, Stan works for the CIA, he kinda knows how they work, like, no offense.
Woo! I'm the ghost of Genghis Khan! I just got through your Great Wall, and I'm going to plunder your culture!
Weird for one of my lists, this is 2 separate episodes, but they both follow the same theme, so here we go. Francine, as you might have guessed, is adopted, being adopted by the Chinese couple of Mama and Baba. Mama and Baba were true parents to her, after she was 7 and traumatized by the nuns feeding her with mackerel.
Well, this morning I went...
Mama always hang up first.
But after that, they were true parents. The problem, well, even if they love Francine, they're obnoxious in-laws. Let's start with Big Trouble and Little Langley. Francine's parents are on a road trip and make a stop to visit her family, which, yay, parents visits.
Steve, lower the table. Haley, hide the cutlery. Everyone, shoes off!
Francine, don't open that door!
Stan, they're my parents.
The problem, well, even if they drop by unexpectedly, they're the kind of guests who insist on you living their way. Like, they'll go into your house and say you're doing everything wrong. They're like Blanche from Streetcar Named Desire. And how do they do this? This includes being cheap, taking off their shoes in the house, and stealing Stan's pants and farting in them.
I'll give you $48 to assimilate.
Shoes off in-house.
I like it here. We're gonna stay 2 weeks.
And they insult Stan for getting angry with them.
你们不如把钱的马桶里，你那个 Stan 虽然帅，但太浪费。
你觉得 Stan 帅吗？
What'd you say? You just said my name. You tried to bury it in your China talk.
Who needs that, Stan? Who needs that, Stan? But we have to put up with it because they're family.
I want them out. Not tomorrow, not in 2 weeks. Now.
I am not kicking my parents out.
They're not your real parents. They didn't give birth to you.
Can't believe Francine believes in the toxic Italian virtue of family. So Stan tries to track down Francine's birth parents. That way he can replace Mama and Baba. They do turn out to be rich, but they're also shallow, and they gave up Francine as a baby so they wouldn't have to sit and coach.
Stan, these people are monsters. You know what my country's done, and even I find this repulsive.
Look, they're rich and they speak English good. How bad could they be?
But here's where I think Stan has a point. Earlier in the episode, Baba gave Steve some firecrackers, and the one Steve chose to light off was called the English Patient, which is called that because it takes a while to go off. Wait, why am I explaining the joke?
Bad choice. That one is named English Patient. It looks beautiful, but it takes a very long time for unsatisfying payoff.
Near the episode's end, it does go off, and it's nothing special. But because they insisted on hanging ducks throughout the living room, aka greasy ducks.
Oh no, no ducks!
Ducks okay.
Damn duck grease!
I just cleaned those paper towels. Never mind.
Well, the English Patient causes a huge fire, which almost killed Stan. So even if Baba rescued him, well, Stan's kind of right to distrust them. Kung Pao Turkey follows the same mindset, even if, to be fair, they aren't as obnoxious this time around. Francine has invited them to Thanksgiving dinner, and Stan is upset because he knows it's gonna suck.
Francine's parents are coming. They're totally gonna ruin the Thanksgiving I had planned. They're here. Oh, this is gonna suck.
See, and while at first his problems with them are kinda petty, like changing certain menu items.
This is my mom's famous stir fry. I thought we could have it instead of sweet potatoes.
I don't want to see this tiny corn.
I don't want to see your tiny corn. Put on some pants.
Stan, I hate sweet potatoes. She's got a point. He's proven right when Baba ruins the TV in order to make the picture better. Which, yeah, he did with the best of intentions, but he never apologized or offered to help.
Stan, why you pay good money? I could fix. You don't need to call Nerd Brigade.
Sir, I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to step in here. I am from the Nerd Squad.
And after spending the whole episode trying to get the TV fixed, Baba has the nerve to sit in Stan's usual spot. Like, imagine if the roles were reversed.
Hey, that's my chair!
I am guest, which makes it my chair.
Stan, just sit somewhere else.
But that's my chair!
Don't be such a baby! And take the trash out.
Which, again, seems kind of petty, but it's like one more kick in the shin for Stan. Like, imagine having to put up with them all day. And it doesn't help how Stan is the one who has to learn to respect other people and their cultures. Like when he goes to the football stadium and tailgates with the other team. When it should have been Mama and Baba. Mama, stop crying.
Not even with youthful holiday wig.
I don't care if you're wearing your beautiful holiday wig. You are wrong. Also, I think you're voiced by the same lady who voiced Lyoma.
Sentence down, already compelling. 5 layers of wool and oilskin enclosed him.
Stan, you asleep?
I wish I had pills that enabled me not to sleep, even if I do like sleeping. Well, I think most people would want them, but me especially. I would get so much work done, or just get super lazy. Who knows. In Stan time, Stan is feeling the burnout of everything. He has no free time at work because, you know, he's at work, and he has no free time at home, because the moment he steps into the door, he gets mobbed by his family.
I woke up from my nap, saw he wasn't as far along with the Parthenon as he should be, and I told him so.
Steve, do your own damn work, or just buy it, who's gonna know? But then again, I feel like Stan would love that. He loves construction. Stan is told by his co-workers that there is a way around this. He can take experimental pills that will make it so he doesn't need to sleep.
I feel so... not wired, but well-rested. Like I had a small coffee around 6:30 at night. I'm feeling good.
And it actually works. Stan uses his free nights to treat himself and do everything he wants to do. And because of it, his relationship with the family drastically improves. Really, there's no negatives. But, of course, the episode has to make it a problem. Francine finds out and insists that it's a bad thing. Because why?
This is what you're doing, instead of spending time with your wife.
We can't spend this time together anyway because you're asleep.
Just saying, Stan isn't doing this because he hates his family. He just wants a little time to himself. And most people want that.
You see, there's Stan time and there's family time. You are part of the family. I do this, now it's a pizza. That you can have.
But he and Francine take the pills together, and while Stan just uses his pills to play video games, Francine studies the colossal squid, and it's portrayed as this super bad thing that he's just playing a video game. Okay, the point of these nights was so Stan could treat himself, to get a respite from the day.
Thinking, maybe my Francine time could visit your Stan time, and together they'd have a little Stan friend.
Like, it's good Francine is doing this, but it's good he's doing that. I think another reason this is bad is because of the double standard. In this episode, Stan is upset he has no free time to himself, and it becomes a bad thing when he tries the pills because he's neglecting his family. And he won't be around Francine 24/7, even if it was actually helping his relationship with the family. But later, in Fartbreak Hotel, Francine doesn't get a respite from her day, so much so that she fantasizes about killing the family.
Anyway, if you don't want to eat it, I can fix something else.
Okra's great.
Yum!
And it's seen as a bad thing that she's Sarah Blanche for a few days, and compromises that she'll get one day off a week. So why is it okay for Francine and not Stan?
There is no gold. You have to stop chasing this silly fantasy and be a parent to your kids.
Fantasy? This is my legacy.
Story time! In high school, I did a whole report on the Reagan administration, and there was a section I had to do on Ollie North and the Iran-Contra affair, and I did not include the song, and I regret it to this day. Simply because, well, my history teacher wasn't that strict. One time, I made a Salem witch trials joke during a presentation for her, and the project, I forget what it even was, but it had nothing to do with the Salem witch trials, so I got bumped down a letter grade. Like, I do think she probably would have liked it. She liked jokes like that. If you're like me and ignorant of such scandal, let me bring you up to speed in a nutshell. Oliver Ollie North was a member of the National Security Council during the Iran-Contra affair. Basically, Reagan and North secretly sold missiles to Iran during the Lebanon hostage exchange, and they gave the proceeds to the Contras, rebel group in Nicaragua.
Genius!
All without congressional approval and in violation of the Boland Amendment, which would essentially be high treason.
But it was totally justified.
On top of his secretary, Fawn Hall, shredding any document related to the case. Ollie North took the blame, but because he testified, and because of Fawn Hall, who also testified, they each got suspended sentences. To this day, Ollie North is still active in politics. He was on Fox News for a little while, he sold a couple of books, that jazz.
Crap, that's the end.
Wow, I just learned while I was being entertained.
So, how does he relate to American Dad? Well, first off, the Ollie North scandal, from what I gather, was on political lines. Republicans labeled him a hero because he took the fall for Reagan, and said it was in the best interest of the United States. Therefore, as a Republican himself, Stan views Oliver North as a paragon of freedom, and not just that, but his ticket to having a legacy.
That's right, nobody. Because I haven't done anything great. Well, that's going to change. I'm going to leave a grand legacy just like they did. And I know exactly what it is.
Now, what is a legacy? It's planting seeds in a garden you never get to see. Damn it, Hamilton. See, apparently, in-universe, Ollie North buried a bunch of gold from the scandal under the house, hence why the Smiths moved there. But Stan had to quit the search because he had to raise a family. Ugh. Damn it.
My God, is that why my middle name is Dream Smasher?
It sure is, Haley.
Haley Dream Smasher Smith, did you put that nose ring back in?
Not gonna lie, even if it has bad connotations, I think that's a pretty awesome middle name. Better than Noel. Stan resumes his search of the gold with Greg and Terry documenting, hoping to get his legacy. But so far, he isn't getting anywhere. Because why the heck would Oliver North bury his treasure underneath a house? Wouldn't he just put it in a safety deposit box? Like, I get it. It was originally his house, but really, there's easier ways of doing this. Couldn't he also have Fawn Hall shredded? I mean, she has that shredder. But Stan doesn't care about the logic, and he continues digging. The problem, well, he still has a family. And children can do crazy stuff because Francine refuses to parent. For example, Haley keeps getting crazy piercings.
My God, get the shrapnel out of your face this instant!
It's just a nose ring.
It's a gateway piercing. Next thing you know, you'll have a bone through your lip.
I have a nose ring. I don't get the big deal. Granted, it's a stud, so maybe I can't complain. Whereas Steve...
They're a mystery that eludes me. That's why I'm creating an alternative. Now I can practice talking to girls on something other than my taxidermied aardvark.
That thing better be disassembled before I get home.
Yeah, maybe Steve Areno doesn't seem like such a long shot. And Francine, she's there too. Stan neglects his family, but while he's digging, he gets knocked unconscious and dreams of what would happen if he were to actually uncover the gold. His family would be in ruins, and Francine would remarry.
My dad wouldn't have approved of this plate in my lip.
Master Stephen, shall I initiate pleasure sequence?
He died as he lived, in his house.
Oh, Stan.
Ew, they belong in Ripley's Believe It or Not. Did you hear they closed the one in AC? I was so upset. However, while Stan does find the gold, he gives it up in order to be a father and a husband.
It's too heavy!
Leave the gold, Stan!
No! It's my legacy!
Aw, you and your pride. But at least you were right.
Stan, I need to borrow your shovel.